Welcome everyone to the first guest episode of the Joylang, and today I'm talking with my good friend Mayu. Mayu, could you introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi. Is it to the camera?
You can whatever you want.
Because you said everyone, right?
Yeah, like the 5 listeners and my mom.
Nice. Hi, 5 listeners. Yes. Hello, I'm Mayu. I'm from Japan. I'm a single mother, living in Denmark for 7 years. And as a profession, I have been as a sort of like a bridge between Japan and Denmark in many various ways, as in interpreter, translator, or consultant, or Japanese teacher or coach, or anything cultural, a Japanese cafe, business to connect people. And here I met Julia.
Awesome.
And talking about what? Joy and yes, like anything, like personal growth and stuff. We have been having fun talking about that.
Yeah, awesome. And this is a question that every podcast guest will be asked. And how would you define joy?
Defining joy.
Yes, your joy.
My joy.
Yeah, like how would you define? Yeah,
the joy when I feel joy, like, ooh, I like stuff, right? Yeah. This is life. I think when I feel joy, that's the feeling, the momentum, like in a way you feel, well, in my words, aligned. So when you actually feel totally true to yourself, or like to feel right where you are, or like what you are, and you feel this is it, like whoa. And then especially when I feel this joy is like when you or in your like preferred situation. It doesn't have to be the same situation for everyone, but when you hit your spot, like, this is it. So I guess that's joy.
Wonderful. And I wanted to talk to you today because there is quite well-known concept that is coming from Japan, which is Ikigai. And I would like you to maybe mention and explain to other people that they don't know what Ikigai is.
As a term, Ikigai comes from 2 different words. Iki comes from ikiru, which means to live. And gai, originally kai, which means, for example, like effect or some result after you've tried something. So, wow, that's worth doing it. Or like, I see the meaning of why I did this, or like what I did my best for. So that's when you feel kai ga aru. So there is a kai, there is the worth, there is a meaning, there is a good result. So what was it? Bostelikt? No, literally, sorry. Literally it means what you feel worthy for, to live, or something like that. So some people have translated as the life purpose, but for us, or for Japanese, it's more like in the context of what, for example, when elderly people say, my grandchild is my ikigai, like I finally found the value of my life, or like what I'm living for, or something like that. So in that context we often hear, but as a buzzword, so-called buzzword, just like Danish hygge, so it has been quite popular all over the world as a new definition of, how to find joy in life, or how you can approach to the life joy or life meaning in a different way. So hygge has been the one, but now it's ikigai, to have a different aspect at lives. I think that's what it is.
All right, awesome. And also I know that your like the word that you say, alignment, that's something that is important to you, but I'm wondering, how does Ikigai links to joy?
How does Ikigai link to joy? In my definition, it was quite equal to it. So
it's not linked, it's like interconnected, or?
I would say so. So like in many contexts, you can translate Ikigai as a joy. Like, oh, that's my life joy, like joy for my life when you see your grandchild growing, or like when you have found some like exciting hobby or something like that, and then you say Ikigai. So basically it's connected, like as you said, interconnected. It's not quite like the same, but it involves each other, I think.
And there is this Netflix TV series that introduced to me like the term of Ikigai about centurions. Like there is the blue zones of people where they live the longest, and then big part of long living in one Japanese island was the Ikigai. And I'm wondering, does everyone in Japan have it, or like is it how does it work, like with this, does everyone can have it, or just few, or?
You mean Ikigai itself?
Yeah.
Or Ikigai, I said it in English speakers way, but Ikigai we say. But I remember this book published in the UK, I think, the English publisher, and this book called Ikigai was published by Spanish authors talking about Japanese Ikigai. So it's a bit different from what we have and what like a bit international view. So for us, or for me at least, it was interesting to spot that island to talk about. That was the one in Okinawa, right?
Yeah.
Okinawa is also known for the long, living people, but basically the whole Japan, we have longer lives. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a healthy, happier, long life. But maybe in Okinawa, they have a little bit more like active in a way, whatever that has been mentioned in that series or the book. But basically, like Ikigai, I can imagine that it should be the same for Danes talking about hygge, like all over the world. It's so natural that you grow up with this concept. You talk in daily lives that, I have lost my Ikigai, or like, have you found Ikigai?
Really?
Or he's talking about that Ikigai.
That's so cool. So on daily basis, people in Japan, they are talking about their life, joy of life purpose, and this is like a part of the conversation.
Yes.
Wow.
So I imagine that it should be the same as the Danish hygge.
Yeah.
So like when people make it a bit like drastic, like, they have this philosophy, that's why they're happy. That's quite exotic reason, maybe, that, they feel, or people feel, it's natural to feel, wow, that's what they, are made of,
Okay.
So very different. But for Danes as well, like they use the term every day, right? They hygge it all the time. So it's so natural for us as well. Ikigai is that, it's not some topic that you hang on the banner or on the board. So, okay, today let's talk about Ikigai. It's more like, okay, when you're drinking, what's my Ikigai? Or like,
But I find
daily talk.
I don't know, for me, just for the context, what hygge is this, there is no direct translation to English. It's like this sense of coziness, of belonging. It's like I like the description. It's like a Christmas morning, or like a rainy day when you drink a hot cocoa and reading a book under the blanket. That's what hygge is. Just, you cannot describe it, you can feel it. And I guess it's the same with Ikigai, right? You can. It's sometimes hard to describe it, but you have to feel it. But I haven't heard about any terms in English, or from where I'm from in Poland. Like, we don't talk about it. Like, we don't have this term like, oh, what is my life purpose? Or like, there is no, like you said, there is no direct translation of Ikigai. Like, there is a direct translation, but there is like this life purpose is something that people, they are like facing middle life crisis that they are talking about, or people that they are getting more conscious that are like, oh, what I'm meant to do. But usually on a daily basis, people, they don't talk about, right? When you ask a question on a regular day, like, oh, what do you think you are meant to do? Then be like, oh, you are so philosophical this morning. Like, this is not a part of conversation in the Western world. So it's very special for Japan to talk about it.
Well, yeah, of course, when you actually bring up this topic, like, hey, what's your Ikigai? Yeah, of course, then it sounds totally, all of a sudden, like, hey, are you going to talk about philosophy or stuff? But, you know, it's in the daily sense, you have it, like, where is my Ikigai? Or, you know, I've found my Ikigai. Or like, he's talking about that Ikigai that he has, you know, recently found, or something like that. Yes.
But I think it's so beautiful because, like, we all strive for purpose, right? We all strive for deeper meaning to life, even if we don't think about it, but majority of us is doing that, right? And subconsciously or consciously, it doesn't matter. But then, yeah, there is not a part of vocabulary for sure. Like, it's like, I don't remember when I was little growing up, like to even hear that word. You know, there are some movies, and I had this advanced literature classes, so we always were talking about some deeper meaning, but it was, but it wasn't like a part of conversation. It was like in the circles, but not on the daily basis. So that's fascinating. Wow.
Great. Well, yes. I think life, right. It's quite naturally a part of our way of living, maybe, yeah.
All right. So what is your Ikigai? What brings you joy?
That's, you know, that's the question you usually question yourself, right? Well, yes, like after I have gone through this like life crisis, so-called like life crisis, and you feel like rebirth and stuff. And then at the end of the day, you feel like, okay, well, it's not somewhere you set the destination to, but personally, my Ikigai is life itself. So I would say so. I might sound like, you know, a bit philosophical that way, but
it's okay.
You know, it's not less specific. Okay, I want to have a dream house, or like I want to have that is like ideal family or something. It's not the Ikigai, but you know, some people take it as something for you to be supported to live, like to keep living, like something you could be dependent on, this Ikigai. But when you actually redefine or like rethink about this term after this popularity of the word, and then I get back to the basic that, okay, the whole journey itself is my Ikigai to, okay, I'm having my life, I'm living my life, and this is my Ikigai, to feel that I'm alive, to feel that I'm enjoying this world. So that's what I personally ended up defining my Ikigai.
Okay, you said something that people, they treat Ikigai as something that their life depends on, like, right? So, but I think not everyone, because you had the opportunity to live in several countries, try different things, you have the freedom to choose your career, right? And then that's not the case of majority, right? Like there is a lot of people that they are not choosing consciously, they are just following like a given path, right? Like finishing studies or not, and then going to the job, and then they never question this. So right? And then there is so many people like struggling with the mental health, and there is so much of I would say lack of this life joy. Even like when we're in the happiest country in the world, right? Like that, according to rankings, there are changes, but considered for the decades like one of the best countries. But
at least it's known for that,
right? Denmark is known from that. But do you see, like, when you walk around, do you see people full of joy and ikigai and just that they are thriving, or you just see like it's like this something that depends on? But I think it takes kind of level of awareness to get to that you get to make those choices about what actually brings you joy and what not. Because I think I totally agree that for many, like, ikigai is the life itself, because it's a journey and you can enjoy, like, considering joy as an emotion, it links to every single aspect and every other emotion. So you can experience it throughout the entire life and with small, like, but it's quite interesting.
Right. It's like living in Denmark. The biggest difference I personally feel is that, you know, when you put yourself in the center or not. So as in like individualism, right? So when it comes to ikigai or like life joy, so especially when we talk about this, the possibility of dependence, as there is a tendency when we actually talk about this ikigai in our daily lives, it's usually a bit like, you know, a later stage of your life where, okay, so his ikigai has been his career and now he's retired, what he's gonna do. Or if, for example, when you have what we call oshi, like your favorite idol, when your favorite a singer, or artist, and you feel so attached to it, and you feel this girl is my ikigai, or this grandchild is my ikigai, and then that could be dependent. Like, you know, you could feel a bit empty when you actually, and when you experience that something happens to them. But in Denmark, I see more like you put yourself in the center, which means you could also say you're responsible for your own happiness. So you don't really depend on other people, how happy, how in which way you feel happiness, or like, you know, happy. But in Japan, it could be a bit more like, I wouldn't say like risk, but when you talk about ikigai outside of yourself, there is a possibility to rely on it or like depend on it. And then when you actually try to find ikigai or life joy or meaning of life outside of yourself, and it's easy to find ikigai, when you talk about ikigai, it's easy to look outside of you. So in that sense, in Denmark, it's more like hygge in the center, maybe. What matters is how you feel, like how you feel comfy, or how you feel safe, how you feel relaxed. So that way, you know, I see more people being around the center of the definition of the ikigai or the happiness.
Okay, and where do you think that true joy of life is? Like, is it outside of you, like the Japanese way, right? Like this dependent on something else, or more like a Danish way, which is kind of inside, right, within? Where do you think it's where it should be? Because it's like a two other sides, right? Like yes. More coming from within, and then kind of external circumstances like in Japan. So I'm curious. It's like I haven't thought about it like that, but it's like this collectivistic versus individualistic society. That's the big difference.
Yes. So it's not a talk about good or bad.
Of course not. Yeah.
Right? So it's always, when you compare like two different culture, and then it's always the best when it's hybrid.
Okay.
But yes, like as the core of this, concept, the Danish way is closer to the, the core meaning of the happiness. But again, so it's the fusion that would be the best to feel, to think about the society, to think about the community you belong to. That also can bring happiness to you as well. So in that sense, Japanese way, without sacrificing yourself, which actually happens often in Japan, but so when we as a Japanese feel or learn more about maybe hygge, or how you center your happiness within yourself, and then you combine with the harmony of or harmony between you and the society, you and the community, you and your school, you and your workplace, and then that would be perfect, I think.
All right. Yeah, so it's kind of taking the best of both worlds.
Yes.
That's awesome. And I have a question to you, like if you could recommend something practical, like we try to keep the podcast as practical as possible, even talking like about those abstract concepts, or not, like joy is something that it's out there, but what somebody can do to experience more ikigai, like the life joy? What are the steps? Let's say someone who doesn't even know, never thought about it, what is their ikigai, like never even came across that they were just doing stuff for the sake of doing it or whatever, like what would you recommend?
To feel this ikigai, to be in the center in daily lives, maybe. Well, some people talk about meditation, right? But I think that can be anything. And for me, it's, for example, making tea, or sit in your garden, or like just naturally. But for example, you can, when you make coffee, or when you make tea, or when you drink something, which people do, usually. So actually, in every frame of the moment, like every movement you do, maybe you just as if you're broadcasting to yourself, like, okay, I am making tea. Look, I'm boiling the water, and I'm pouring this water, and I'm making this cup of coffee exclusively for myself, because I am special, or like because this special cup of coffee or tea or water means a lot. This is what is it called? Aqua Vita or something. Yeah. Whatever. So like a little deed, little action in everyday life. Maybe you slow it down, like to each frame, because we talked about the whole tea making process in Japanese tea ceremony. Every move has meaning, and every moment we pay respect to the guest, to the cup of tea, and this like redefinition of your daily action would maybe helpful or like practical to feel more conscious of having choices. Actually, it's your life, it's my life that we're living in, and then you can zoom out without getting stuck of what you actually facing at your problem or your concerns or anything. But when you zoom out, you can go closer to the joy, the original joy we already have. So when you don't meditate, I would recommend, just like as I do at home, that okay, every tea I make, what is it called? 丁寧に politely or
gently, like
gently,
mindfully,
with the respect, to you yourself and stuff. That would be practical, I would think.
I love that. And actually, a lot of people, their life joy, it's sometimes dependent on their morning coffee.
That's vital then,
right?
Okay.
So just like slowing down, actually I love it. Like I'm not doing that at all. Like I'm just another one, and let's say scrolling my phone while the water is boiling, like just doing all the things around it instead of actually focusing. So yeah, we'll try that, and I love it. And I know that you are doing some cool things online, and if someone would like to talk with you or connect with you, how they can find you?
I'm active on Instagram, where I also share my like Japanese cultural things or like cultural aspects of my point of view, and also I have my website where I offer my recently launched service, the soul tea. It's not salty, but
soul tea.
Soul plus tea. So yes, that way people can find.
All right.
me.
What's the name of your Instagram, and what is your website?
You can find me on Instagram, Mayu _Kamiya. That's it. And then there you can see the link to that website as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. ありがとうございます。
ありがとう。